Reddit comments. People of Reddit. What celebrity did bad things but everyone forgot what they did because they're famous? Please subscribe and comment below. George Wallace, the infamous pro-segregation governor of Alabama in the 60s, did not inform his wife that her doctor diagnosed her with cancer. Doctors during this time often told patients' relatives of their cancer diagnosis instead of the patient, especially if the patient was female. The reason was that she was running for governor as a surrogate for him, since he had reached his term limits, and he thought that the diagnosis would negatively affect her chances of winning. She ended up finding out about it 4 years later during a visit to a gynecologist, but unfortunately the cancer had progressed to the point that she died from it 3 years after learning that she had cancer and that her husband had known about it. He ended up successfully getting the term limits repealed and went on to serve a few more terms as governor. People forget about this, I'm assuming, because of all of the other shitty things he did. Edit. Her name was Lurleen Wallace, for those interested. Holy shit. Boy George. He beat a guy with a metal chain after cuffing him to a radiator. Should make for an interesting sequence in his forthcoming biopic. Even Tyler became the guardian for a 16-year-old he was dating when he was 25, so he could bring her on tour. Knocked her up too. Elvis Presley and Priscilla, age 14. Right out in the public, no one batted an eye. Her parents allowed her to go on a trip under the condition that Elvis pay for a first-class round trip and arrange for her to be chaperoned at all times, and that she write home every day. Elvis agreed to all these demands, and Priscilla flew to Los Angeles. Elvis told her they were going to Las Vegas, and to throw her parents off the scent, he had Priscilla pre-write a postcard for every day they'd be away to be mailed from Los Angeles by a member of his staff. Is no one gonna mention Caitlyn Jenner hitting that pregnant woman and forcing her into traffic, then getting the Woman of the Year award? I guess I remembered that wrong. Turns out it was an elderly woman, and the woman died when she was hit by a Hummer. Also, remember that Brendan Schaub, the millionaire podcaster / comedian, spit in someone's face and then threw them through a sliding glass door because they asked him to stop eating his food? Look into it. On an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, comedian Nikki Glazer talked about the recent Comedy Central Alec Baldwin roast in which Caitlyn Jenner participated. Nikki had planned to roast Jenner with a bunch of jokes about how Jenner had killed someone, but Jenner refused to participate in the roast if those jokes were made. Damn, they should have agreed to not do the jokes then done them anyway. She did them on Rogan. Caitlyn Jenner, what a beautiful woman you killed with your car 4 years ago. Mark Wahlberg beat and blinded a Vietnamese guy just because he was Vietnamese. I can't believe it took me this long scrolling to find this. He's making millions off the Transformers films and everyone conveniently has forgotten that he committed a hate crime. Ryan Reynolds did Green Lantern. John Lennon beat his wife. He yelled in his son's ear so loudly that he's now deafened. A child. Both Sean and Julian have been pretty open about how terrible of a father John was. Gwyneth Paltrow's a con artist and manages her MLM, as well as recommending women treat their illness by putting rocks up their vagina and steaming their privates, causing harm to people. You can say she's an idiot, or just that she's a sociopath that loves making money off hurting other people. Actual Gwyneth Paltrow quotes right here. I don't think anything natural can be bad for you. I'd rather smoke crack than eat cheese from a tin. I'm who I am. I can't pretend to be someone who makes $25,000 a year. I could go on and on. She seems super out of touch and has a massive ego. Ted Nugent shit his pants to dodge the draft and has a song called Jailbait which ends with him pleading with an officer not to arrest him and instead share a 13-year-old. Vince Neil of Motley Crue drove drunk and killed one of his very good friends and gave the 2 people in the other car very bad injuries and brain damage. He also had other DUIs after this. But hey, everybody loves a good party song and now he has a famous liquor brand. He also beat a woman so severely it ruptured a breast implant. Kurt Cobain's mother regularly goes on talk shows and interviews where she talks about how supportive she was of Kurt and how she knew how famous he would become from the moment she heard his music. Yup, it's the same mom that abused Kurt and kicked him out multiple times, making him live at his grandparents, friends and sometimes, not confirmed, sleep under a bridge. Steve Jobs got his girlfriend pregnant and went on to insist that she was a whore and 28% of men in the US could be the father. He became a millionaire while she became a single mother on welfare. He refused to assist her until he was court ordered to pay child support. Besides that money, he never helped her raise the child, but weirdly enough Steve still decided to name a computer after the child. Well, it's not that bad, because they stayed together all his life. But Celine Dion's husband was his manager. He's 26 years older than her and started being his manager when she was 13. They were dating by the time she was 17. He was 43, kinda weird considering the power dynamic at the time, but usually ignored/forgiven because it lasted. Brown was driving a vehicle with Robin F. as the front passenger on an unknown street in Los Angeles. Robin F. picked up Brown's cellular phone and observed a 3-page text message from a woman who Brown had a previous sexual relationship with. A verbal argument ensued, and Brown pulled the vehicle over on an unknown street, reached over Robin F. with his right hand, opened the car door, and attempted to force her out. Brown was unable to force Robin F. out of the vehicle because she was wearing a seatbelt. When he could not force her to exit, he took his right hand and shoved her head against the passenger window of the vehicle, causing an approximate 1-inch raised circular contusion. Robin F. turned to face Brown, and he punched her in the left eye with his right hand. He then drove away in the vehicle and continued to punch her in the face with his right hand while steering the vehicle with his left hand. The assault caused Robin F.'s mouth to fill with blood and blood to splatter all over her clothing and the interior of the vehicle. Brown looked at Robin F. and stated, "I'm going to beat the out of you when we get home. You wait and see." The detective said Robin F. then used her cell phone to call her personal assistant Jennifer Rosales, who did not answer. Robin F. pretended to talk to her and stated, "I'm on my way home. Make sure the police are there when I get there." After Robin F. faked the call, Brown looked at her and stated, "You just did the stupidest thing ever. Now I'm really going to kill you." Brown resumed punching Robin F., and she interlocked her fingers behind her head and brought her elbows forward to protect her face. She then bent over at the waist, placing her elbows and face near her lap in an attempt to protect her face and head from the barrage of punches being levied upon her by Brown. Brown continued to punch Robin F. on her left arm and hand, causing her to suffer a contusion on her left triceps. That was approximately 2 inches in diameter and numerous contusions on her left hand. Robin F. then attempted to send a text message to her other personal assistant, Melissa Ford. Brown snatched the cellular telephone out of her hand and threw it out of the window onto an unknown street. Brown continued driving, and Robin F. observed his cellular telephone sitting in his lap. She picked up the cellular telephone with her left hand, and before she could make a call he placed her in a headlock with his right hand and continued to drive the vehicle with his left hand. Brown pulled Robin F. close to him and bit her on her left ear. She was able to feel the vehicle swerving from right to left as Brown sped away. He stopped the vehicle in front of 333 North June Street and Robin F. turned off the car, removed the key from the ignition, and sat on it. Brown did not know what she did with the key and began punching her in the face and arms. He then placed her in a headlock, positioning the front of her throat between his bicep and forearm. Brown began applying pressure to Robin F.'s left and right carotid arteries, causing her to be unable to breathe, and she began to lose consciousness. She reached up with her left hand and began attempting to gouge his eyes in an attempt to free herself. Brown bit her left ring and middle fingers and then released her. While Brown continued to punch her, she turned around and placed her back against the passenger door. She brought her knees to her chest, placed her feet against Brown's body, and began pushing him away. Brown continued to punch her on the legs and feet, causing several contusions. Robin F. began screaming for help, and Brown exited the vehicle and walked away. A resident in the neighborhood heard Robin F.'s plea for help and called 911, causing a police response. An investigation was conducted and Robin F. was issued a domestic violence emergency protective order. Edit: I'm not the bot. Credit to /u/Takindali, who I copied it from, and the bot from r/Frankosian that says this anytime Chris Brown is mentioned. Thanks for watching. These stories were not told or created by the Reddit Comments channel. Rather, Reddit is posting on the public Reddit forum. The posts may be false or untrue and are only being shared through video form. Please subscribe and comment below. Thanks.